Hello and welcome to Prepare for Grand Prix Modern Antwerp. This is actually the report and the afterthought. This is a decklist I decided to register. I also have a sheet of paper in front of me where I wrote down every matchup and details of it, or at least some details, something that I want to mention from the matches. Obviously this decklist, these two cards were actually wear tears, but because I do not have an updated Cockatrice database, I cannot actually insert a card in it. So no wearways, they are wear tears, the split card where you can fuse them. The fuse is not relevant, but it's basically it's either that or destructive revelry. Those were two options, and I chose wear tear over it because the 1 mana cost to destroy an enchantment is better than the 2 mana cost, and the 2 damage usually isn't that relevant against a matchup where you sideboard this card. Seeing that I didn't play for like a year, or at least not a lot, I only did like GP Utrecht last season, so I had no buys, but I considered my very first round to be a buy. I played against UB Control Mill, or whatever you want to call it. The guy played Fog Bank, the counter Mill 2, I mean Isochron Scepter, stuff like that. It was an easy win. The problem with that is like those kind of opponents, okay, you have a free win in the early rounds, you often come across them if you don't have buys. But the issue with that is these kind of players are there either for the fun or to try something, but they won't get a good result, so it will cost you resistance. But it was a 2-0 victory, so yeah, I'll take the win and go on to the next round. Then round 2, I go against green-black, who splashes white for Lingering Souls. Game 1, I burned him out, and game 2, I think I had enough removal for his early game creatures. I basically sideboard in Peto Exiles, of course, because yeah, it's a creature-based matchup for like a Noble, I think, and I'm not sure about the last one. It's probably something like Noble and a Snapcaster that goes out, or maybe a single Geist, I'm not sure. So basically just drop creatures early game, try to use some removal on his creatures, so creatures can go through and then just burn them out. And keep Deathright off the table. That's basically Deathright and Scavenging Ooze, seeing as it's now modern legal. I think it's a really great card for modern. A bit too slow though, it seems, as most decks. Like, the issue is that these kind of decks, like Junk, Green, Black with Souls, that splash for white for souls, they try to play a fair game, right? They have money investments into stuff like Scavenging Ooze, they have discard. They try to play the fair game in a format where everything is broken. The deck I played myself is kind of fair as well, seeing as it is creatures with just lightning hints, but there's so much reach, so much insane fast power that it's not really fair. So yeah, so that's a 2-0 victory as well. Round 3, I come against UWR Control. I don't recall him doing much. Game 1 I win easily, I think, on a Geist. He has like, he's not playing the deck with Pyroclasm, he didn't have one. He doesn't have like Vendilion Click, either Node Restoration Angel. You do have some UWR lists that do run it, and I think that's the better UWR list that there are. And then Game 3, I have him. Game 2, I have him under a lot of pressure as well with Geist. He used like a Cryptic Command turn 5 to tap it, and then he had 1 mana open, of course. Then turn 6, he takes 2 for his land, and it's obvious to me then that he has to Snapcaster and Cryptic. So I go to declare attack. He Snapcasters Cryptic, so he taps completely out and just burn him out. So another 2-0 victory. I'm 3-0 at this point, so basically no buys, 3-0. That's fine. Obviously, buys give you 100% resistance, or they don't count, I'm not sure anymore. It used to just give you 100% resistance. So buys are obviously better, you don't have to play, you don't take the risk. But hey, I'm 3-0, right? So round 4, I play against UWR, against Thomas van der Palt, who is a Belgian streamer, a decent player. And I knew from his streams that I watched like earlier in the week that he would play UWR as well. Game 1 I win through Pyroclasm without a Geist even, never saw a Geist, but still win. He has like not enough removal for my creatures, and eventually the burn just gets to him. Probably Souls had something to do in there, but I mean, it's an easy matchup. It's probably one of the best matchups you have. And he didn't play Vendilion Clique, he didn't play Restoration Angel. Neither of those cards were in his deck list. So game 2 is a bit longer. He has to, it's like he has more early game access to Mana Leak. I think Mana Leak's my Tarmogoyf, but he has to expend a lot when I do resolve a Geist eventually. He has used a lot of that Cryptics and just try to keep it at bay. And then eventually just loses to it. I mean, there's nothing more to say about it. Geist is just really good against that deck. I think he had like an engineered explosives to get rid of the lingering soulstone connections, but I mean the Geist just killed them alone. It's so good against that deck. You can keep your burn. Like those lists, they try to snapcaster and then block your Geist with it, but obviously you have no burn to stop that. So yeah, UWR, decent matchup. Round 5, I come against a Naya deck. Game 1, I basically win because I just kill his creatures with burn, hit him, and then eventually the creatures take over and it's enough. Probably Lingering Souls, huge player there. So I think also Xsplit was in there. And he actually sideboarded in Python Needle or one Python Needle, which was real terrible for him, of course, because I only played a single Xsplit and there's like no other thing to put it on except Fetchant maybe, but that's so narrow, right? So didn't care about that. I did expect Blood Moon out of his sideboard, so I did bring in the Wear Tears, which I basically had one of in my opening hand. So I basically mulliganed myself to 6 since he didn't actually have it. But I still won. No complaints there. Basically I won the game 2 because my opponent just got flooded. I mean, literally flooded. He had insane amount of lands in play. Really bad luck on his part. Else he probably would have won that game, and then we would have gone to game 3. So after that I'm 5-0 up. Still undefeated. I haven't dropped a single game. I'm won all 5 2-0. Round 6, I go up against Boggles. That's basically the hexproof deck where they go like turn 1 Boggle or the Elf that has hexproof and just put on enchantments. Game 1, I win the die roll. So game 1, I just outrace him. It's basically a race game, and they have to have Spirit Link or Daybreak Coronet to win. And then game 2, he mulligans to 6 or 5. He doesn't have a ley line, which they do run in their sideboard, which is probably one of the best cards against me. I keep a hand with something like Deathrite, Geist, and or just Deathrite, Tarmogoyf, and a bunch of burn with 2 lands. And I top deck Stepplinks. So he's on the play, and I draw Stepplinks from my very first turn. So yeah, it's game over from that point. Stepplinks turn 1, turn 2, Geist and Ball, Deathrite and Bolt. I think I draw land after that, and then yeah, I do insane amount of damage so fast. It's just over. He doesn't see a Daybreak Coronet. He doesn't see. I think he did have a creature, but I mean, he's not gonna stop me from doing way too much damage to him. So at that point, I'm 6-0 up. I just have to win one more, and then day 2. Obviously, I want to go 9-0. That's a dream, of course, but we'll see. So round 7, I go up against UWR again. Game 1, I get flooded. So I mean, it's not insanely flooded, but I think I have like 8 lands out while I only play 9 of them. So yeah, that's still way too much. So you lose a lot of pressure on the deck, and as soon as you lose the pressure on UWR control, you know you're gone. His list did play Vendilion Cliques and Restoration Angels and Blade Splicers. Only saw the Vendilion Cliques and the Restoration Angel, but he did say so. So his list is probably better suited against mine. Game 2, I easily win. He has like no effects, and then game 3, he makes a loose keep. I think he has no white mana, and he just has like 2 blue-red ones, Sulfur Pulse and Steam Vents, and 2 Tectonic Edges. So it's a really loose key from him. And the problem is though that I get flooded, and with flooded I mean 15 out of the 22 cards I drew were lands. 15 out of 22. So even though he was screwed, he could hold the fort with some mana leaks and then some electrolytes and bolts, and I just couldn't do anything. A single guy would have won me the game there. And yeah, eventually he does draw the land he needs, and he has a handful of spells. So when I do draw the spells, it's too late. So I do take my first loss there, 1-2 loss. So I'm 6-1. And then game 8, I'm paired against Junt again. Game 1, I won the dry roll. I easily win with the pressure I can afford to do. I think I play turn 1 Death Ride or something from Temple Garden. He goes land, fetch, take 2, Thoughtseize, go to 15. Sees my hand and goes like, oh shit. So he just did 5 damage to himself against a deck like mine. Yeah, that's enough. Game 2 is really close. It basically comes down to a point where he plays Liliana. He has 6 land he play, including a treetop village. He plays Liliana, uses it, and that's his last card in hand. Destroys my only creature on the board. I just have 5 mana. I have no cards either. He has a 3-drop, so he attacks for 3. I draw Lingering Souls. I mean, that's nuts, right, against Liliana. So Lingering Souls comes into play. He draws a land. I draw another Lingering Souls. I mean, come on. What more can I ask for? Then I draw a Tarmogoyf, then a Tribal Flames. Yeah, the game's over there. I basically just outdrew him. I'm not gonna say I outplayed him there. Game 2 of that match was just luck for me to win. Basically, you can always say, yeah, that's why I put it in the deck. I needed to draw something, and I drew something. So, yeah, that's that. Round 9, I have to play against Junk. At that point, I had a killer headache. So I don't recall much of the game. The only thing I know is that game 2, I get mana screwed. I basically keep 2 lander with Death Ride, Shaman on the draw. I do play turn 1 Death Ride. He gets rid of it turn 2 with Abrupt Decay, I think. And then from that point on, I never see a 3rd land out of the entire game. And you just can't play Magic like you should play Magic. So out of 9 rounds, I end 8-1 after day 1. So I do go through to day 2 with a decent record. And I only lost 3 games, basically 2 mana floods and 2 mana screws. Now you can say, yeah, you're just making excuses for the losses. Actually, I'm not. I mean, if I take a loss from being outplayed, from just being faced against a better deck, I would say so. But it just didn't happen at that point. I mean, I did get lucky, like against Boggles. As soon as they have like a Spirit Link or Daybreaker on it, the game is over. There's like no interaction from me there, except if I have Terror. That's the only thing I have, and he didn't. So I mean, I do get lucky sometimes. And I'm not gonna say I don't. It's basically my opponent getting unlucky at that point. It's not me getting lucky, my opponent getting unlucky because he doesn't see the card. Maybe he didn't mulligan aggressive enough. I don't know. It's not my deck. So I do go home again. It's like a 20-minute drive for me, so that's fine. We have an extra hour of sleep because apparently GPs now start at 9 on Sunday, so it used to be 8, it's now 9, so that's an extra hour. And also it goes back to daylight saving time, so an hour back, so we had an extra hour of sleep, so I slept like 9 hours, which isn't like a lot. I usually sleep like 12 to 13 hours. But I mean, it is still good to refresh yourself. And if you can sleep in your own bed for a GP, that's always great. So I do go to day 2 pretty refreshed, and round 10 I sit down and I'm facing Junt. So game 1, I win the die roll again. I basically have enough pressure to win that. And then game 2 is basically the moment to remember there. My opponent has like Death Ride Shaman, 2 Tarmogoyfs, and 2 Teardrop Villagers and something. He has an insane board. And I'm dead next turn. I have Death Ride Shaman myself. I have 2 Soul Tokens and a Geist. He's at 13. I'm at 3. I have 3 lands, Death Ride Shaman, and a fetch land as mana source. and I have no cards in hand. My opponent plays Blood Crypt, so he's out tapped. He plays Blood Crypt, takes 2, goes down to 11. And the reason why he does that is to use that right to deal me 2 if he wants to, so I can't fetch, I can't use that mana. I'm like, fine, I have no clue what gets me out, but I'm not conceding. I'm not that kind of guy. I want to see all my options and then concede. So I draw my card, and it's the only card in the entire deck that wins me. It's Xsplit, this card. So now I have to make sure that my opponent doesn't use his dead right in response to my dead right on land, because the fetch land can't get a basic plane because it was Verdant Catacombs, I think. It doesn't matter. It basically wasn't Marsh Flats or Artemisa. It couldn't get basic plane. I had to take a shock, and would deal me 3 damage. So I have to make sure that my opponent doesn't use that right to stop me from gaining mana from mine. So I think a while, act like I figure out the line of play and use that right on the land. He lets it resolve. I play Xsplit, give guys flying, hit for 11 in there, GG. So I mean, I do top deck there. The only card in my deck that actually wins me the game, else it would have gone to game 3. And if my opponent made a correct play, I still think his line of play is a line of play I would have taken as well. I mean, taking the land away from me there, taking 2 while you're at 13 against a board like that is still fine. I would have done 100% the same line of play he did, and it cost him. He didn't see Xsplit in game 1, so yeah, it's bad luck on his part, it's lucky on my part. I won't say more about that. So round 11, I'm facing a really fun guy, a really friendly guy as well from Switzerland, I think. I saw him in the last round playing. He was at X2-1, and he couldn't get into top 8 with a win. So I mean, the guy. So just about my opponent there. Later on, he's playing against another guy. He's up there. The guy's X2 with lowest resistance. This guy's X2-1. He can't get top 8. His opponent might, but probably not, even with a win. And it comes to a draw. And the guy that I also played was like, yeah, even if it cost me my top 16, it might give you your top 8. And he actually conceded. I mean, that kind of opponent, I give a lot of respect to those kind of guys. I mean, they don't want to be the guy that crushes the other guy's dream, right? So lots of credit to the guy. I forgot his name. I'm sorry. I never recall names. But I mean, just goes out to that some people that do play Magic at in a competitive scene at a high level are friendly guys. So game 1, I'm a bit behind, and I basically lose after he plays the Zealot that steals something just out of his hand. No, he sacrifices Red Cap to a pot, uses it for 1 on the links. In response, I fetch, so the link survives. Then he plays Zealot on the links and attacks with everything, which is lethal. Yeah, okay, I lost there. I mean, he had a better hand than me. Game 2, I'm on the play, so I win the game with a pretty fast hand. I also had even Mind Sensor, so it's really hard for him to win there without having an out to that. So win. Then game 3, it basically comes down to my opponent being at 8. I have Deathrite Shaman, 2 lands, and in my hand I have Lightning Helix and Tribal Flames. So I need to draw a land. So in place Temple Garden and Volcanic. So I need to draw a land that can either get the Godless Shrine or the Blood Crypt. I draw, it's a Mist Rainforest, like the only 3 fetch lands in my entire deck that can't get a black mana. It's neither is it a burn, which would have been fine as well. So I don't draw it basically. I'm still at 13 though, so I mean it's fine. My opponent draws his card for his turn and plays Viridian Zealot. He targets my my Deathrite Shaman, and I think about this. There's no line of play I can come up with that keeps the burn in my hand and doesn't put me dead. So I have to use the Lightning Helix, and I can't target him either. I have to kill the Zealot, and even then he still does 12 damage to me. He actually kills me for exactly lethal. So I do get a bit unlucky there, I guess. I mean, I just don't get lucky. My opponent does me exactsies. I lose. I go to 10-2. 9-2. I mean, it's no shame losing against a guy like that. Really fun opponent. Had a great blast playing him. I hope to that any tournament I play is against guys like him. And I myself try to be the same kind of guy, fun guy to play. But I'm never sure if I am. I might seem annoying to some people. Just a sec. So that was another annoying interruption. Sorry for that. So currently I'm at 9-2. We just played round 11. So go to round 12, which is against Affinity. I win the die roll. Game 1, my opponent goes to 6. I put him on some pressure. He finally stabilizes, but I have 2 tribal flames. He's at like 11. I have lightning helix, tribal flames. So end of turn lightning helix on that, flames, GG. Not really hard game there, I guess. Game 2, he goes like turn 1, land, welding jar, what's the card called? Signal Pest. He then passes turn. I play step links. He plays land, taps the land, plays what is it called? The drums. Taps his Signal Pest for mana, plays Vault Scourge, and he passes the turn. And here I make the error not to Pato Exile on my own turn. He Vault Scourge, and oh, he also played a second Signal Pest, of course. I make the error not to Pato Exile when he stepped out on his Vault Scourge. I tried to do it on his turn. He has the Pierce, which he can do with the drums, and it cost me the game because Scourge basically gains like 9 life during the game. So yeah. Game 3, have a pretty fast hand. He doesn't have that much of a board. He eventually, like I have that right. I have burn. I just burn him. Use that right for extra damage. Burn him. Use that right for extra damage. It's basically just direct damage I do there. Have a go with his 12 beating down, but he finally gets an edge champion. And the board comes down to me having that right in play. He being at 1. Plenty of stuff in the graveyard to use. I just played Snapcaster Mage on Lightning Helix. Play Lightning Helix, he has a Spell Pierce sword. I pay 2 for the Spell Pierce, so go up to 13. No, to 12 because of a fetch, so I go up to 12. But I'm tapped out, else it was game already. If he didn't that appears, it was his last card. He has in play like 2 lands, Ingmon Nexus, or 2 lands, Ingmon Nexus. No, it can be. So 3 lands, Ingmon Nexus as well, so that makes 4 lands. None of them being artifact lands. It's like Island, Glimmer Void, stuff, Nexus, stuff like that. Ravager, Edge Champion, Ornithopter, Drums, I guess. Yeah, Drums. He draws his card for a turn, which is Cranial Plating. And I start calculating, of course, like, holy shit, he just drew the best card in his deck. And I start calculating and come at 11. I'm like, yeah, he can sacrifice Ravager to Ravager. activate the Nexus for an extra artifact. That makes 7 artifacts. Sacrifice the Ravager again, which puts 3 counters on the Edge champion. But then he has 2 less artifacts, so he has 5 artifacts. Edge champion is 5 then, 5/5 because of the Ravager counters. Plus 5 is 10, plus 1 from Nexus as well is 11. So he does the counting himself in his head, or figures it out. He's like, yeah, I'm 1 damage short. I'm like, yeah, you're 1 damage short, it's 11. And still he goes through the motions, he attacks. It's like he wants me to concede or something. I'm like, it's still 11, man. And yeah, he finally extends the hand, so I win there. I take my 10th win. I just need to win one out of next 3 to finish in the money. I can still get top 8 if I win all 3, but I don't assume I will. I mean, I'm just playing game per game. And so I go to round 13, which is a feature match against Boggles. I lose the die roll. Yeah, I don't know if it's against Boggles, of course. He plays turn 1 Boggles, so obviously I know it at that point. I play turn 1 Steplings, and I basically try to raise him. It comes down when I'm at 9, he's at 9. I have Geist in play. He has his 1 creature, of course, which is 6/4 trample at that point. And I also have Xsplit in hand. I have Lightning Helix in hand. I basically have enough to kill him next turn with the Geist and then a burn. But his last card that he has in hand is a Spirit Link, so he gains an extra 6, and I can't do enough on my turn. So yeah, that loses me the game 1. Game 2 is just me out racing his deck. He doesn't have Leyline. He doesn't have anything he needs. And then game 3 is another loss, basically because of Daybreak Coronet, again lifelink. For those kind of decks, or that matchup is basically just having Spirit Link or Coronet, and it's really hard for me to deal with that because his creature is usually big enough, it has a totem armor or something on it. You can only win against a deck like that with some kind of sacrifice effect, and I'm not sure which one is in the format that's decent enough to play. So yeah, obviously Liliana is, but it's not something you can play in this deck. So I take my 3rd loss, not top 8 for me. I wish my opponent some luck and then go on to the next round. So round 14, I play against Junt, again real fun opponent, real friendly guy, shout out to him as well. There were long games, don't remember much of them. Basically it comes down to 1-1. Then game 3, I'm on the play. I lost the 2nd game. I'm on the play, and I play turn 1 Steplings. Turn 2 play fetch. He fetches to a swamp, plays Dismember, so he takes 5. He goes down to 15, and the Steplings dies. I play Tarmogoyf. He plays land, passes. I attack with Tarmogoyf, and at this point I have the option to play a 2nd Tarmogoyf, right? My opponent mulligans a 6. I'm thinking here, like, I have this game in the bag. The only thing that blows me out at this point is me overextending into a Maelstrom Pulse here. If I play the 2nd Tarmogoyf and he has turn 3 Maelstrom Pulse, it's game over. It's a total blowout. And I'm not willing to take that risk. I mean, I'm still ahead. My opponent has to find answers, and it's just the better play not to take that risk. So I don't take it. He plays Lingering Souls turn 3. I just attack with the Goyf, pass the turn again. And basically, yeah, it gets bogged down. It comes up to a point where I start setting up for a kill with the Deathrite Shaman. He gets a Deathrite Shaman of his own. I attack with the guys into his Scavenging Ooze when he only has 1 green open. He blocks with the Ooze, blocks with the Spirit Token, the Angel, tries to pump his Ooze. I eat the creature in response, so the Ooze dies to the guys as well, so he doesn't gain any more life. He goes up to 4. And if at that point I only have, he already did Tectonic Edge and a Fulminator Mage. If at that point I actually had more lands, like I only had Godless Shrine to both be my black and my white. I had Helix in hand. I could have ate a Sorcerer on instant, dealt 2, and Lightning Helix into that, but because I only had Godless Shrine as white and as black, so my mana base basically fucked me there. Or screwed me over, if you want to be a bit more gentle. I mean, it's not like the mana base was bad, it's basically him destroying 2 lands that made it a bit wonky for me to work with. So I don't get the kill there, but still, yeah, I hit that 1 for several turns even, because my dead right just negates his, and I have like 2 or 3 turns where I have to draw a single burn spell to win. I don't, so he takes the game. I go up to X4, I need to win an in. And then round 15, I have to play against Junt again, but I'm basically never in these games. The guy has turn 1 dead right, I don't have an answer to it. He then gets like Dark Confident, another dead right. I have to kill Dark Confident, of course, because it would get him too much in the game. And then with multiple dead rights, yeah, it's pretty easy for him to win there. Then game 2, I'm on the play, but he has enough removal from my creatures, and Huntmaster gains him 2 life. He gains another token. He has Maelstrom Pulse for my 4 Lingering Souls token, stuff like that. I mean, it's just not enough. I played for a position again where he goes down to 7. I have 4 Lingering Souls tokens. He attacks me down to 1 with 2 treetop villages. And I basically have no cards in hand, so again I can draw any kind of burn, because I can hit him down to 3 and just burn him out. I don't, and I lose there, so I go X5. After 8-1 day 1, I go 2-4 on day 2, just out of money. Not a great result for me. I mean, it's still a decent result on average. I mean, I ended 105th, I think, out of 1,600 people, which is still a decent result, you know. But being 8-1 day 1, you actually want more than that, right? You at least want to finish the money with a score like that. Like going 3-3 on day 2 isn't that hard, but I just didn't get there. Will I? So just an after. That's a report. Some like 2 Belgian players that we know got in the money. So congrats to them. Chris van der Waar went X4 as well, and he ended 68. So I mean, that's a sour one. Some other Belgian players had to play for the last round in money and lost as well. So yeah, that's just a report. Now, the Afterthought on deck, I think the deck is fine. If I would play it again, I'd replace 1 Mystery Rainforest for a Marshlet, because basically Marshlet gets most of the cards you want, the lands you want. Mystery Rainforest does as well, I guess, but I mean, just not being able to get black with this is a bit annoying. Maybe, yeah, maybe just a Skull Intro. It's really hard to work with these fetches. I mean, most of the time you get Temple Garden and Steam Vents, and then use your other fetch or something to get like a Blood Crypt or a Godless Shrine. So you have like enough colors. So that's basically what I did. But I mean, it's not that easy to play with it. I basically almost never got Stomping Ground, almost never got Hallowed Fountain. So that's the other combination. Of course, you have Temple Garden and Steam Vents, and you have Stomping Grounds and Hallowed Fountain. Maybe you don't want to play like 1-1-1-1, you want to play 2-2 or something. Have a more consistent mana base, I'm not sure. Haven't played enough with the deck, even now, to think about it. Also not sure about the Noble. It's obviously there to have more Geist, turn to Geist, but maybe this can be replaced by something different, something better. I'm not sure what yet, but I'm pretty sure there should be something that's good enough. Maybe even a 23rd land that you can use. I'm mostly sideboarded this out. So you already noticed I'm not a big fan of it. It has no extra value eventually. It's not good in playing into Pyroclasm, stuff like that. Yeah, the sideboard as well. I mean, Nihil Spellbounds never came in. Remands never came in. These did against UWR, these did against Junt and Junk. These did against Affinity. So this Affinity, which you obviously need. This Affinity and the matchups where I actually expected Blood Moon, never got to see a Blood Moon. Not even Affinity sideboard in Blood Moon, so I do understand that they don't sideboard in Blood Moon, because like if they spend 3 mana on casting Blood Moon, they're probably losing, because yeah, you spend an entire turn just casting a card. Okay, it shuts down my mana, but I'm probably still ahead on the board, so it doesn't actually change the board state that much. So I do understand that it didn't sideboard in. Even Mind Silencer obviously needed against Pot. It's great against Tron. Never played against Tron. It's probably the worst matchup you can face. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sideboard cards against that, which you want to bring in, I guess. This is not sure. You don't want the sideboard out pets either. You want like 2 in. So it's probably Lingering Souls out because they're not good enough or not fast enough. Like Noble Hero cards, maybe a Snapcaster, something like that. And you can cut the second Snapcaster then for the Ancient Grudge. Remounts are doable, but you probably don't want to keep open 2 mana every single turn just to remount something. So yeah, I never played Scape Shift, where obviously you bring in the remounts as well, the Wear Tears as well, probably these 3 as well, and even Mind Silencer. So you probably have a really loaded board against Scape Shift. This goes out, this goes out, this goes out, this goes out, this goes out. Lingering Souls goes out, so that's 9, and probably the Elspeth because it's slow, so 10 go out and 10 come in. That's fine. If you have buys, Nihil Spellbomb. I mean, Nihil Spellbomb is basically just against Living End, and like remounts are just as good. Obviously, you have to keep open mana for remount against it, but I mean, just remanding the living end to their hand is just as great as Nihil Spellbomb, maybe even better. Their graveyard in response. So I'm not sure if you should still play Nihil Spellbomb over remounts, because remounts can probably come in against something else as well. Now, would I play this again in a modern event? It's just not my kind of deck. I mean, it's a really great deck. It's fun to play. You have loads of options. You have loads of range, and I mean, it does perform. I saw like no other person playing this deck in the entire room, or at least not this kind of list. I saw one who played Thundermaw, Hellkite and stuff like that, even 5 colors, so Flames with Thundermaw, Hellkite. I mean, like, what are you trying to achieve jamming in 5 mana cost creatures? It's not streamlined enough. This is. So yeah, I still think it's a great deck. I still think it's under the radar. But the problem is that your bad matchup Tron is actually played a lot, and you do have, like, Kiki Pot is a great matchup normally, but it's still like 55-60% in your favor. It's not like huge. UWR, it depends on the list. And UWR shouldn't actually be played often because it's not that great of a deck. I mean, so if I approach Modern just from a standard, just from like what is played in Modern, or how can you approach Modern? Modern is a wide format, right? You have so many decks out there. Why would you want to play a control deck? How can you play a control deck? How can you play a control deck in a format that is so wide? You can't control everything. There's so many different approaches of attack. Like Tron outmans you and then just plays Haymaker after Haymaker after Haymaker. You have to play your Sowing Salts yourself for that. Okay, you can't do that. Then you have Aggro. You have to play Pyroclasms. You have to play mass removal spells. You have to play some creatures like they're useless in other matchups, like Blade Splicer. I still think that's or Vendilion Click. I still think that's the better UWR list control list, by the way. Then you have other combo decks like Splinter Twin, would just approach you on the counter war, like negates a lot of your removal because it's a 1/4. Negates a bunch of your counter just by being slow and you not having a fast skill either. You have Scape Shift, who just plays the game as well. You have so many. Then you have it's so hard, and even against an aggro deck like this, you lose. It's a bad matchup because of Geist, and it's way too hard to control an entire format. And you shouldn't play or shouldn't try to play a control deck in a format that is so wide. The same is true for Legacy. Legacy is a bit different because your control deck has a lot of options, and controlling Legacy usually isn't control. It's usually control with a fast kill. Like most control decks, or the only decent control deck in Legacy is Esper Control. It has discard, it has free counters, it has And this is basically what makes it deck. It has Stoneforge Mystic with Bear Skull. It has a fast clock. It has just a card that's great against aggro and great against combo because it can get a sword. It's a really fast clock as well. It's good against combo because it deals damage. You have a lot of options against what am I thinking of? In the sideboard against combo, because you basically get meddling measures, extra Vendilion clicks, or you should at least stuff like that. So your sideboard out your move will bring in those. Against aggro control, you have Lingering Souls, which are great against those. So Legacy is a totally different format, and it's possible to play controller, but only a limited amount of control though, and it has taken a while to get there. So yeah, I would consider playing this deck again, but I probably won't, just because it's not my kind of deck. I'm still satisfied with it. I'm satisfied with the result. I mean, I basically didn't play test that much. It's a borrowed deck as well. So yeah, if you have any comments, any questions, anything you want specifics from, I might recall, just ask in the comments, and I'll hope to see you when I do my next preparation. If not, you can enjoy all the other videos. See you around.